Let them all in.
All right.
There we go.
Okay. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Out in the virtual world of Zoom and YouTube and Facebook Live. And sometimes I was just talking to my friends here. Sometimes it feels like we're kind of in this twilight zone in this virtual reality, but what a great good thing it is as well, because it allows us to be connected with one another, especially at this time, which is so important. So welcome for all of you who are here with us today. This is the continuation of the week-long programs that we're having for the Long Beach Gives Initiative, which is a week of giving back to nonprofits and helping them to continue their work by supporting their work with donations. And what we wanted to do per the council is really have kind of a sample of what the council stands for, what the council does in terms of our programming and what we believe in. We pride ourselves in creating communities of compassion among people of different faiths and cultures. And we do this through service, education, and celebration. And certainly tonight would be one of those programs under that realm of celebration where we're celebrating the spoken word with all these beautiful poets that are with us. We actually have a very packed program. I believe we have 11 participants, which is fantastic. So I don't want to take a lot of time and talk. I do, however, want to introduce the individual who is he's a beloved board member. He's a friend of mine since I started that with the council 13 years ago now, Tony. Can you believe that?
Okay.
That's crazy, right? 13 years ago. I'm a member of the Baha'i faith community, a professor himself, and a poet and a lover of poetry. So I am so grateful and I'm so honored to call him my friend. And he is really the mastermind behind this program tonight. And we're so grateful and so indebted to you for that, Tony. So I want to pass it on to Tony Lee, who will be kind of the master of the program this evening. So Tony, thank you so much. And we look forward to this hour with all these poets. So please, Tony.
Well, thank you. That's so kind, Milia. I really appreciate it. And 13 years is a long time. You shouldn't have admitted that.
I know.
We'll cut it down to 5.
Okay, thank you, Tony.
But tonight we're going to celebrate the spoken word and celebrate poetry, which is fairly unusual in our society, except in some small subgroups of strange people who love poetry. But let's start with the question of what is poetry, because there is an argument about that. And of course, there is no answer to that question. But my definition is that poetry is the language that we use when there is no language that can express the emotions and the feelings that we have. It's the words we turn to when there are no words that can capture our emotions. And so we put it into poetry. And that is what we're trying for this evening. Actually, you know, poetry has kind of fallen out of our society as a popular medium anyway. It used to be very, very prominent. In other parts of the world, poetry is so central to people's feelings and identities and nationalities and so on. In this country, we just don't like poetry very much. I don't know, maybe it's the way it's taught in high school, but everybody thinks they can do without poetry. That is, until somebody dies, or they fall in love, or they have a baby, and then suddenly somebody feels like they have to write a poem. And usually a bad poem, but anyway, because your emotions simply overflow. And so capturing those emotions in poetry is a very important part of the arts, a part that we have pretty much lost, except for the Black community, which has discovered rap. And rap is basically poetry. Sometimes it's accompanied by music, sometimes not, but it is the spoken word that is a popular medium, at least among young people and in the Black community. So we thank African Americans for saving poetry for us. We do have a rapper among us, Karim Hakim, and so we're going to out him in this program. Let me say a word also about beauty, because the whole point of poetry is pure beauty without, without any physical form, really, just ethereal beauty. And beauty is something else in our society that we don't know much about. I mean, we know about Hollywood and beauty which has been commodified and beauty which has been monetized and commercialized and put on a shelf and so on. But that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about deep and spiritual beauty, which is immediately accessible to everyone who sees it or hears it. And our society doesn't understand that either. And that's something that poetry can bring to us, and a way that poetry can bring us together. Because beauty attracts, I mean, that's the nature of beauty, and one is almost involuntarily compelled to approach beauty and to approach it together and to appreciate it together. So that's something else poetry can do for us, and by just offering us pure beauty and bringing us together on that basis. Okay, those are my opening remarks. I am going to try to read a poem that I wrote some years ago, and this will be the opening poem. I have two warnings, however. One is that my eyesight has become very poor, and so I'm going to use glasses and hope that I can see the page. And secondly, I have never been able to read this poem without crying in the middle. So I'll try not to, and I read it several times today to get that all out, but it didn't quite work. So this poem is called Pool of Dreams, and I'll read it. In the middle of the conversation, I said with lids half closed that no act of goodness is ever lost. Sure of myself and thinking that was nothing interesting or new. But she had never heard of such, looked away, jerked her head, afraid, as if that statement might turn her from a life of leisure to religion, or, if more sophisticated, to marching in the streets, chanting slogans and making signs, knocking on doors and pleading with people to give to some cause they don't care about. Then I wondered if it was true, what I said. Will every good thing last forever in a pool of good things? And might that spoil a happy life? Pull a woman from her comfortable place into toil and misery, and make me give too much money for the children of Bangladesh? What if every dime I gave to every filthy panhandler might be in there somewhere at the bottom? And every time I laughed, and every book I read to my children saved in that place. And the black sweater I will give to Martin in a day or two, just for love, because he is beautiful. His hair is red and his smile can light a room. If that might be there too. With all the Hail Marys Diana said when she heard her brother was shot before she knew he was dead. And she thought they went to waste. And the time the frat guy in my dorm, who I hardly knew, apologized for America's racism. And he really meant it, but it didn't help. If they were all there in that place, saved and reachable, yes, they must be reachable somehow, waiting to be used again, recycled for kindness, for goodness. And I decided that if I could ever find it, or even dream it, that pool that saves the world, I would do it. I would ruin my life and throw away everything, even my soul. Okay, I almost got through it. So now I'm going to introduce the other poets. Sorry, just can't get through it. I want to introduce Claudia Gold now, who is a very good friend of mine, was once in a former life a student of mine, and she also studied with Jack Grapes and with another poet whose name escapes me at the moment. She has worked as a social worker for nearly 30 years and is now semi-retired, and she is a South Bay poet as well. So if she wants to say more about herself, please go ahead. And Claudia.
Thank you. What if shame was a cloak worn by the sensitive in heart daily, who no one saw when they were wee and eager? And what if they, empathic and open, took in the anger and chaos of parents in pain and thought it was theirs? What if they lived this illusion day by day, minute by minute, wearing this outworn rag of people's pains and illusions, frustrations and passions, thinking in their child brain and heart, it was all them? What if their hearts were hopeless and heartless, and if they wondered if they could endure the pain of this life one day longer, even as they worked diligently, managers, doctors, lawyers, mothers? And what if they were sewn to these cloths and they did not know that they could remove them? They just thought in their arms and their breaths and their hearts, they were not worth the time or the love or the care or attention. And what if the sensitive in conscience, the empath, the kind, put all their thoughts and attention for others, not taking the time to notice how worn this inner cloak was, how shabby and lonely? What if the empath, the one with the heart of gold, looked in the mirror of truth and said, no way, it is time to take off the garments of others. I will remind myself. And what if that kindness they recognized as true? And what if their love that went out went in too? And what if they day by day, minute by moment, breathed out others' pain and breathed in their worthy breaths, their sacred breaths, their sensitive breaths, their empathic breaths, their compassionate breaths? And what if this breath is what breathed in the minutes, the moments, the days? And what if they, encouraged, came forth with new gifts, saying, I am a star, I will shine with God's light? And what if the world's good people just knew that they light the days and the moments and minutes of all they encounter in meter and rhyme, in breath and in heartbeat, a free while on the earth? And what if each day we woke glad to be the source of this love for all eternity? And what if we sang our true song and we said our true words from our hearts and not followed our heads? A little ditty, a little rhyme, I hope for love to reign, sublime in the breath of the sacred, the wholly abused, the empath, the good soul whose conscience is true. And this is a tiny prayer from Abdu'l-Baha. Kindle the lamp of the spirit within the innermost chamber of my heart. Release me from every bond, that I may tread no path other than thy path. Grant that I may proffer the water of life to those who are sore athirst, and bring divine healing to those who are sick and ailing.
Thank you, Claudia. That was wonderful. And for the sick and ailing, we want to remember Marilyn, who is ailing and in pain, in our thoughts and prayers. The next poet is another Baha'i poet, Amy Pierovich, who I don't know much about. She just told me that she is from Santa Fe, and she's joining us by phone, so I don't know if we'll see her. But Amy, are you there? Can we hear you? Maybe we can't hear her.
Tony, do you have me? Do you have me now?
Yes, is that Amy?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's who we want. All right, tell us a minute about yourself, or 15 seconds anyway.
I'm Dr. Amy Pierovich. I'm a poet on medium.com. I'm a Baha'i in Santa Cruz, California. It's nice to be with all of you this evening, and I would like to thank you, Dr. Anthony Lee, for inviting me.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I read an essay by medium.com author Jesse Wilson titled, "What Do You See When You See Black Skin?" This poem is my answer to Jesse. My poem is titled, "You Are Rising." Blackness is the deep, sonorous song of Ella Fitzgerald, and the pain of Langston Hughes, and the historicity of W.E.B. Du Bois, and the melody of Billie Holiday, and Louis Armstrong, I can hear your horn. All echo in my mind, rich as the farmer tills the soil in springtime, strong as a gust of Tennessee wind, stars shining bright as the beauteous blackened midnight sky. Black is the depth of probing for answers, so elusive. Answers to hatred and bigotry. Why do you have to go into a store and face uncertainty? This is unfair, unjust, it's just not right. And it pains my soul, for yes, we are all equal under God's eyes. And I love everyone. Blackness, for me, you are creativity, and you are rising, and you are strength within tenderness, and you are the song playing in my mind to a syncopated beat. You are poetry. Oh, keep moving forward unto a better day, one of hope and belonging and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Amy.
Thanks, Amy.
That's beautiful. And I'm sure, everyone can clap if you want to, even if we can't hear you, we can see you. So next, I believe we have the video, don't we, Cheryl?
Yes.
Okay, this is a little fragment of a video that's going to be shown on tomorrow's program, but it is a video made by a Catholic group, John West, who is a good friend of mine, and you'll see him. I believe you'll see him in this fragment, and the Valyermo Catholic dancers. The singers are Phoebe and Harrison Crenshaw, their brother and sister, and the poetry is by Diana Macalintal. Oh dear. I'm going to mess up all these introductions. Diana Macalintal something. Anyway, go ahead, and this is just 2 or 3 minutes.
Oh my Lord, 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 Lord. Oh my Lord, 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 Lord. He packed in the animals 2 by 2, the ox, the camel, and the kangaroo. Packed them in the ark so tight, I couldn't get no sleep last night. Noah's son, Shem and him, telling about God's master plan. Oh my Lord, 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 Lord. Oh my Lord, 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 Lord.
40 days and nights on the boat, Nameless hope in God it flowed. Noah, his wife, and the boys, they prayed that God would fill the promise made. When the rain had stopped, they looked up high and saw that rainbow in the sky.
Oh my Lord, 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 Lord. Oh my Lord, 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 Lord. The promise of tomorrow rings, lift us to our feet and sing. Words of wisdom guide us right, with his glory win the fight. Oh my Lord, 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 Lord. Oh my Lord, 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 Lord.
When trials came, you saw us through. The promise of heaven we'll get to. There's hope when the water's high, feeds our souls and hears our cry.
Oh my Lord, 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 Lord. Oh my Lord, 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 Lord. Oh my Lord, 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 Lord.
The word of the Lord.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that's the story of Noah and the rainbow. And you'll get the whole story tomorrow night if you tune in. Next, we have Karim. No. Yes.
Karim.
Karim. Yes, almost got it. Karim Hakim, who I don't know, I haven't met him yet, but I'm very eager to meet him one day. He confessed to me that in a previous life he was a rapper and that he fell out of that. I know that he's a single parent and he has 2 children, a boy and a girl. And maybe they'll make an appearance in this segment. So, that's all I know about you. So why don't you go ahead?
All right, thanks. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're good. So, Assalamu alaikum or hello. My name is Karim Hakim. That was a good intro. I want to thank Sister Sarah for pushing me to do this. Just a disclaimer, I don't know what I'm doing. So Dr. Tony's right. I used to rap. Now I left that kind of life. Didn't like the industry stuff, got into faith. And now I'm trying to revisit it. So it's somewhere between rapping and spoken word. I don't know what I'm doing. I just call it spoken flow. So hopefully you enjoy it and it's not as primitive as I think it is, right? All right, bismillah. Bringing peace like treaties, energized like Wheaties, flow sicker than Willy Wonka with diabetes. Half the world's gone mental, used up like a rental. Now the realest news people get us from Comedy Central. Hold strong to the banner. Allah's the best of planets. People feeling me like the TSA without a scanner. I hold true to the supreme screen of the American dream. Lyrics so amped they can sell them at Coffee Bean. School was never a joke. I always watched how I spelled it. A's weren't enough, so I had to get straight Elifs. I'm making it clear to all that all Muslims ain't scary. The only ICs I ever touch come in cherry. I ain't a bully with the rhyme, but I punch every time. They got bags so good, they owe me 10 cents a line. Look, don't feel dissed, just rewind what you missed. And prepare to feel the heat like Cyclops optometrist. The verse keeps getting hotter, so haters don't bother. They can't say nothing like Elixir underwater. Life's like Bengay. It starts cool and then it burns. Sometimes it tests your patience like a Walmart return. So I keep saying what pleases Allah, because only He knows my pain. Otherwise, I better keep my mouth closed like I'm fasting in the rain. We say love is love, but does that mean hate is hate? How come a room full of patients always have the longest wait? I hope the world still feels me from the 6-foot range. Just because they're getting rid of coins don't mean it's too late for change. That's it. Thank you for listening.
Awesome, man. I'm so glad to be that you're here. A little Muslim rap will do us all some good. I really enjoyed that. Okay. Next, we have a poet from Long Beach, Annie Buchanan, I believe, and she is very accomplished poet, very well published, author, also an artist, and not an artist, a writer, sorry, a novelist, and I believe she's the poet in residence of the First Congregational Church of Long Beach. Is that right?
I think you've got me mixed up with some other person here.
Oh dear, where are you from?
I am from Long Beach, but I'm with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Long Beach.
Yes,
wish I was a published poet, but I am not.
I do have you mixed up with Tina.
No worries.
Okay, never mind. She did confess to me that she was brought to poetry, this is Annie now, was brought to poetry through work on climate change, beginning as a very angry, very depressed, very disillusioned, and now through her work in poetry has found peace. So you go ahead.
Thank you. First, I've just got to say, this is just so delightfully wonderful to be with poets, a whole evening of poets. And Karim, tough act to follow, but here we go. I did write this poem as I've been working on climate change with my church for so many decades, years. This really is just a bit of a personal homage of hope, I think, for just this beautiful planet that we all call home. But it's very personal, so forgive me, and here it goes. The title of this poem is Recipe for a Blessing on the Earth. Assemble the following ingredients: her pearl earrings, his uniform's brass buttons, 8 ounces of Havasupai Falls azure water, swatch of red velvet from that dress, 7 California poppy petals, all the words of all the poets on torn vellum, the firstborn's blanket, a surgeon's mask, 1 skein of red embroidery thread, 1 glass of really good old Vine's Inn, an offering of sage. Place all into Grammy's cut glass punch bowl. Stir gently with a stick from the backyard dogwood. Season to taste with monarch pollen. Repeat this incantation. All is here. All is good. We are complete. Thank you.
Thank you. That was whimsical, beautiful, interesting. And I have so many questions like, who is he and who is she? But we'll save those for later. But thank you so much for being with us. The next poet here I've already introduced, I think, is Tina Datsko. Is that the way you pronounce it? The Sanchez. And she's the one who is so well published, and the novelist and the poet in residence at the First Congregational Church in Long Beach, right?
That's right.
Oh, I got it right this time. Good, good. And what else can you tell us about yourself?
Well, I think I'll just go ahead into the poetry. I just thank you, Tony. Thank you, Milia. I'm just delighted to be here, delighted to have this opportunity to gather with other poets and lift our offerings of poetry together. It's a wonderful, powerful thing to be able to do. I'm going to share 2 poems. The first one is from a group called 30 Poems of Healing, and this is number 3.
This is your own book? Excuse me. This is your own book, 30 poems.
Yes, it's my own poem. I write these groups of like 30 poems on a certain theme, and this group is called 30 Poems of Healing.
Fantastic. Okay, please. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So this is number 3. Is there a recipe for healing? Certainly there are ingredients to gather. Bringing the mind to peace, practicing forgiveness, seeking nourishing light, building a life of laughter and passion, creating beauty and sharing joy, filling to overflowing, and becoming a well where many may drink. And the second poem is one I wrote this spring. I was invited to contribute a poem for a chapbook in support of the Peace Cathedral in the Republic of Georgia, which is working to house on its site a mosque and a synagogue. And this poem is titled The Living Oaks of Mamre. And it opens with a quote from Genesis 12, verse 3. In you, all the families of the earth shall be blessed. When God told Abraham His descendants would be numerous as the stars. It was before the births of Ishmael and Isaac, before that hot afternoon at Mamre. There, in the full heat of the day, when anyone with sense would be napping, 3 strangers appeared. How was Abraham's vision so clear in the shimmering mirage of heat? His heart told him what was right. Bring cool water and fresh bread, prepare a feast to honor these guests. And though it was not the comfortable or the easy thing to do, it was done. So the divine visitors feasted, and from that welcome grew a blessing. When Sarah, behind the tent flap, heard the news of unbounded possibility, she laughed in human disbelief, not imagining such a breakthrough could come to her. And so the impossible became reality, descendants as vast as the stars. And we today, descendants in many faiths, only exist because of Sarah and Abraham's radical hospitality and Hagar's courage, fierce protection of her child, faith in God. The unthinkably impossible can come to fruition by waking from comfort to heed the heart's calling. May we in many faiths become living shoots of the oaks of Mamre, connected below the surface, rooted in the trunk of Abraham, giving shelter to the stranger. May we dream as wide as the dome of stars and form one roof of justice.
Thank you very much. You have time for one more if you want to grab one right quick.
Oh, okay. All right. I've got one more. This is called This Precious Life. Our lives are as impermanent as grasshoppers. They flash in beauty in a golden field, then are no more, silent, but not forgotten. Yet we can access the divine through each other, in kind hands baking, thoughtful fingers penning a note, in a soaring voice leading us in worship, in sweetly sung tones that lift like incense. We glimpse the divine in the sparkle of laughter, the twinkle of smiling eyes, in the embrace reminding us we are connected, always connected, no matter the space or time appearing to separate us. Our time on earth may not be long, but it can be deep, rich, and meaning-filled as we care for each other in the solidarity of vigils and marches, in the joy of celebrating together, in the group hug of grieving together. We become God's embrace to each other. We become the hands and feet and speech of our Creator, creating through us healing, liberation, and justice for all.
Thank you very much. These are values that we all share, and it's wonderful to hear them in poetry. And we have the next poet. We have another Baha'i poet, actually, Sandra Lynn Hutchison. And I've known her and her husband for many years. She is joining us from Maine. And so she's staying up late just to be here. It's 3 hours later there. And probably Richard has gone to bed by now. So Sandra is the editor and creator of an online poetry journal called Elixir Online Poetry Journal. And you should look it up, Google it. She has published many poems, and she's published in her journal some of my poems as well. So I'm grateful to her. And maybe you can say something else about yourself, Sandra?
Just thank you so much, Tony, for having me. And I feel like I'm bringing the cool breezes of the Maine coast to this gathering. This vibrant, sunny place with these vibrant, warm voices. My work is a little bit more contemplative, but I'll share with you what I have. And in the journal, elixirjournal.org, I wrote the link on the in the chat. Really concerned with exploring the relationship between art, spirit, and community. And so I always love to receive submissions. So
did you hear that, poet? Here is your big chance. She's gonna read your stuff and publish it. So
I have two poems. One is a little bit weightier and the other is a little bit lighter. I'll read the weightier one first. It's called Las Palomas, and it means the dove, and it's what the Mexican people in El Rosario call the monarchs that come every year to their area. And it's a poem for those who are lost and those who survived the pandemic. So it's a very hopeful poem. It's a poem about working one's way through suffering to a vision of hope and light. When I think of them, I think of the monarchs, the Methuselahs, the ones that lived long enough to make the journey south to the Sierra Madre, then north again to Canada, pumping themselves full of milkweed leaves, nectar from wild carrot, coneflowers, and blazing stars. True survivors, they know how to let go, to glide on the thermals, guided by rivers, sun, the earth's magnetic field. Las Palomas, the local people call them, the doves, a migration of souls, come to El Rosario every year on the Day of the Dead. Watch how they cling to the trunks of branches of the fir trees, a living blanket of orange and black painted wings rippling in its folds. To see this is to kneel in a temple. What is found now is found then, says Kabir. This earth, this heaven, one and the same. It's an old story. The females with their smaller, thicker wings, sturdier and more adept at flight. On these spring days, I remember the mothers, think of them poised to rise up on the warm gusts of air and glide their way northward, exalting over hills, sailing through the valleys, nectaring along the way on asters, milkweeds, the flames of sunflowers, and the humble rabbit brush. It has been one of the longest winters in the history of the human heart, and I know it will be written. A simple poem about simple acts of love called Wild Apricots. I think of her as I slit open a bag of compost, work the rich stuff in with the blunt back of my rake. Amytis, the homesick queen of Nebuchadnezzar, yearning for the green hills of her lost Medea. At night, the palace echoes with the shrieking of peacocks, how she craves pomegranates, wild apricots, longs for pistachios, lush valleys. So he makes a tall mountain of mud and bricks, the legendary hanging gardens, anchors them with stalwart tamarisk, finds ways to feed plum and pomegranate, apricot and myrtle, drawing up river waters from the wide Euphrates to terraces pendulous with fruit engulfed by vines. How he must have loved her. Later, as I finish thinning the onions, circle the tomato plants with a dose of peat. When I am done picking the beans from vines that mock the neat network of poles and string, while I saute the onions, I tell my husband a whole remarkable story And he says, what people will do for love. It begins to rain. The air is heavy with the scent of cinnamon and turmeric. Apricots. My recipe calls for them, but I have none. Without a word, my husband heads out in the rain to buy a bag. I sit in my chair enveloped by a fragrance as sweet as a child's breath and rehearse the story. What people will do for love, I think, what they will do.
Nice, very nice. Thank you so much.
My husband loves that poem. Richard loves that poem.
I bet he does. Yes, he's the hero of the story. Oh, that's great. Okay, well, thank you so much. Now, next we have Ayah, Abdu'l-Raul, and she has this fascinating name, Ayah, which is an Arabic word, which means signs. It also means verses. And since she's a poet, she creates them. It also, in a certain sense, means miracles, since every verse of the Quran is supposed to be a miracle. So I don't know very much about her. She has recently come to this area, and I know she's a poet. What else?
Well, I already can't live up to that introduction.
We're waiting for miracles now.
Oh boy. That is.
It's going to be great.
It will be. Go ahead.
Well, thanks.
Anything
Margaret.
else about yourself, though?
Just moved to LA. It's been a lot of years of trying. I'm at USC right now, pursuing my master's, trying to learn how to write better. So, you know, maybe there are a lot of tough acts to follow here. But yeah, thank you, and thanks to Sarah for also inviting me into this. This is also taken from a book. It's not published, but if you know anyone, called Big Yellow Bus. You have stolen my dreams and my childhood. Greta Thunberg's appearance before the vast blue curtain. This, we thought, was it. Then came isolation, day 15, the black swan in the shape of a microbe, scrabbling at the last remnants of recent before times, songs on loop, loss upon loss, first graduations, then birthdays, funerals, outings, big and small and accumulating. We anticipate further losses, each day further in the financial isolation, night 25. This won't take root. The shattering of the matrix means nothing to those who defend it. 10 tips to save money. Here's why you won't get your stimulus check. Why don't millennials buy homes? I say, fuck your bootstraps. Isolation, night quadrangle. They say that the virus benefits from fever. It wants to hold you down to get to your lungs. You have to move. Even in involuntary rest, Americans must always move. Remember your last hug, a small child after new cleaning measures, running back to class to galump you with tiny arms. Oh, thank you. Not breathing, you run to the bathroom to sanitize your face and hands, throw your clothes in the wash. No idea that this hug will be your last. They say that the virus benefits from fever. It has to hold you down to get to your lungs, so you have to move. Americans must always move. Isolation, night 30, loop to loop. My legacy would not be noble. It would be a reminder that good men are only fictional and live in the hearts of women. No messages for loved ones, no ambitions untried. Just relief that I didn't chase things I couldn't have. Tea, coffee, food, coffee, coffee. Tigers in pain is a backdrop to our collective Netflix spectacle. We are as tigers, trapped in the chicken wire Harvard of our parents' making, drained for an era that was never ours, watching them defend senseless roles and argue about who should wear what kinds of dresses and how and when and how much we can hate them for it. While waiting, I watched movies. I watch a woman rescue canvas from the ocean. I watch the spread of oil paint and designs of orchestral significance, minor chord, violin, tin, tin, tin. At work, I helped a boy make a parachute with tissue paper and told him that the mask is for playing doctor. The corporates who kill journalism can eat my fucking bootstraps. Would we feel better if we wrote a story for every gunshot? Once, while self-correcting out loud in a cafe to a friend's friend, I went over everything that went wrong in an abusive relationship, all the ways I'd been taught to be at fault for a man's mistake. If I had done this, if I had done that, and I said this, and I forgot about that. It had been a mistake, I thought, to interact with men at all. I've gone 17 years without it safely and already wasted 2 years of my life, etc., etc., etc. So I'm going on like this until the friend of my friend's friend suddenly stops me, angry. If you were hit by a bus, he said, we would not be sitting here talking about why you were hit by a bus. That's Big Yellow Bus. Thanks, guys. I don't know if it fits the theme.
That was wonderful. Listen, we needed a COVID poet and we needed a COVID poem. And, I mean, here we are. We're all there. We've been there. So I enjoyed it enormously. It was great. I liked your performance of it also. That's wonderful. Thanks so much. Okay, now we've had the miracle, guys. There she was. And next and the final poet, we've saved the very best for last, is April Halprin Wayland. And her resume of poetry is so long, I wouldn't let her even list it. But let's say that once upon a time she was a student of mine. That probably didn't help anything. She has published so many poems and so many books, and she is has a poetry forum. What is it called? One word? That
I'll give it to you in that. It's a forum. It's a new forum that people are actually using.
A forum. Yeah. Sorry, Ed. And she, oh my goodness, she's a novelist as well. Anyway, she has resolved to write one poem per day. And she's done this since 2010. So she must have written a poem today. And I don't know if that's the one we're going to hear, but here she is. April, you're awesome. So go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, Tony, your class was so wonderful. I'm just going to set my timer so I know what, and thank you for this. This has just been amazing. I'm very honored to be included here, both for the actual poetry I'm listening to, but also for the bigger aspect of the advocacy and the work that the Interfaith Council does. Really appreciate it. So I went back and forth. First of all, I was dealing with my lighting and it wasn't right. And I'm just so all about me. I'm so sorry. So I was going on and off and oh, it was going to work. And then I thought, you know, I'm going to read you two poems from, it's a novel and poems for young teens. And it's called Girl Coming In for a Landing. And I thought these were something about a vision of hope for the future. So the first one is called, it's for like a very young teen. First one is called Period. It sounds so final, like things stop when you get it. I know that when I finally get mine, I'm going to be so thrilled. I'm going to call it my exclamation point. That's that poem from the book. And then one about, she plays violin in the orchestra at school. It's called Taking Violin. I open my case, tighten my bow, pluck a string to tune. I love to listen to it chirp across the echoing room. My friends are in class reading about a famous English king, but I am training this wooden bird upon my arm to sing. And I just have a few more since they're short.
Please go ahead. Okay,
so the in one word form is really fun. You just go to, what is it called? It's a site called Wordmaker, wordmaker.info. And from that, you can put in any word and it tells you how many other words are inside that word. And then you can just go, oh, this is like my playground. So like in the word maker, for example, there are 28 words within the word maker. You have to be careful. And so what I do is I'll list all the words and then I'll pick maybe 8 of them just to play with. It's just a great incentive. And sometimes I'll highlight those words that I've used, but sometimes it doesn't matter. It's not important that other people know that these are from one word. But the other day I wrote this. It's called What He Does When No One Is Looking. POTUS, that's the president, leaned back under the oak. Man, oh man, this is the best. And it was. His canoe, the smell of bacon wrapped in kebabs and corn on the cob. No need to think about bank rates or snakes out to get him. None of that. Just ripples on the river and their ebb and flow against the shore. Nothing more. And that was from the word backbone, because I had heard someone call President Biden President Backbone, and I just thought that was so great. And then just 2 more. When the miners were in the cave in Chile and we were all holding our breath, I wrote a poem called Chilean Miracle. Push out, deliver, bring forth, give birth. 33 miners from Mother Earth. And that was when they were saved. And the last one, I just thought, I'll leave you with a real child's poem, because children's poetry is what I specialize in. And this was published in a wonderful anthology called Hop to It, Poems to Get You Moving. And they're for use by teachers, but everyone. And there's a whole variety of poems about actual movement or ways of interpreting it. But I sort of looked up, they wanted me to do something about singing or chanting. And so I looked up vocal exercises, and this is the poem that came out of it. It's called Exercising My Voice, and this is the last poem. I can yawn, hum, wiggle my tongue, blow through a straw. I can drop my jaw. I can trill my lips like a motor in a lake. I can sing, ee, ooh. I can hiss like a snake. I'm getting ready in the thick of this clatter to tell the world that my voice matters.
Wonderful, wonderful. You see, these poems just pop out of her.
No, they don't.
I mean, she can't help it. They just keep coming and coming. And they just knock us down. So thank you so much, April. That's great. That's great. And all of you poets were awesome. My goodness. I mean, you're really seriously putting it out there and putting yourselves out there, making yourselves vulnerable and just, being honest with the world. So one thing I found out as a poet is that once you put it down on paper, once you say it, then it's out there. I mean, there's no way to unsay it. So you're just open to the world. And actually, it's a wonderful feeling, and it's a wonderful gift to give to others. So thank you. Thank you all. Now we're getting close to time, so I'm going to turn this back over to Milia, and she's going to take us out of here.
Thank you, Tony.
Oh my goodness, I honestly didn't even realize the time. And wow, exactly 8 o'clock. I mean, that's Tony, thank you. Oh my, I feel like I'm still soaking it all in, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to all of you. It was just it was like, sometimes you need that breath of fresh air just to kind of recenter yourself and just breathe in. And I felt like, for me at least, I think I can, by reading just the comments, I think it's a sentiment that's probably shared by all of us that had the honor to witness the words that were spoken tonight and the words that were felt. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of you. Tony, my goodness, my love for you just grows every year and every interaction that we have. Truly it does, Tony. Your soul is beautiful. There's just no other words to describe it. No. Our friendship has grown in these last 5 years. But tonight I was reminded, you're absolutely right, Sarah. Sarah said, we have to bring these poetry nights back, because I was reminded, I talk about this with such love because it was has always been one of our favorite evenings and events that we've done per the Interfaith Council, which were the evenings with Rumi. And Tony would welcome all of us. He would open his house, and close to 100 people would be there in his garden and throughout his house, and there would be poetry reading, and there would be music, and there would be dancing, and all the chaos in the world just seemed to just cease, and there was just beauty. And it was beautiful. And this night just reminded me of that. So I thank you, Tony, for taking the lead on this. This was you made all of this happen, and we're indebted to you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. All of these poets were just wonderful.
Amazing, truly. Amazing. All of you. I think we need to hear the sounds of clapping. So please, we were silent. Amazing, truly amazing. Thank you so much, all the poets here, for your words and for being so genuine. And I'm not often one who doesn't have words. I talk a lot, but honestly, today I just sat there and I just listened, and it was just air for me, and I loved it, and I thank you for that. I thank all of you for that, and I look forward to more programs like this, because I think it's so needed. So I thank you so much for your beautiful souls, and for your words, and for the richness that they brought to all of us. Putting back on my executive director hijab or hat, or whatever you may call it, right? I balancing these realities of just sitting there and listening and soaking it in, and then saying, okay, I have to get back now. But this evening was part of this week-long programming that we're having per the Long Beach Gives Initiative, which is basically a program that really aims the Long Beach community and community outside of Long Beach to give back to the nonprofits that are in Long Beach particularly. And certainly SCIC is one of them. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to create kind of a little microcosm of what SCIC is, as demonstrated through our various programs. And I don't know, is the screen kind of cut off for the rest of you guys?
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. That's all right, Cheryl. Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl is the amazing office administrator who we don't often see the face, but without her, none of this would exist. So we thank you for that, Cheryl. We are Tuesday, right? We just concluded Tuesday. That's right. So we've had 6 programs thus far. Yeah. Tomorrow we continue in the mornings. We have every morning we start kind of with a meditation and a spiritual reflection from a various faith community. Tomorrow it will actually be the Christian faith community. And Annie, I think this is your pastor. It'll be Reverend Steve Wilson from Pacific Unitarian, who will be with us and sharing some reflections and embarking on some meditation from the Christian faith. In the afternoon, we have this lunch program. Today we had some we made some Indian and food with Rini from the Hindu community, and tomorrow we continue that from 12 to 12:30. It goes on a little bit longer, but food and faith. And tomorrow we're going to have lunch with Cantor Elon Davidson from Temple Bethel, and we'll learn a little bit about the Jewish faith community as well. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, same time, similar to this, but it'll be music. So we'll have an evening of song and dance, and you saw a little bit of one of the performers today that we had. So we hope you'll join us for that. And then continuing on to Thursday, we start the morning with meditation from the Native American community. So Chief Ramos, who's a dear friend of ours, who actually doesn't even live here anymore, but we're still connected. One of the poets said that, right? That we're all connected, and we always are connected. So he will be with us and doing some meditation from the Native American principles. That afternoon, for those of us who are familiar with Long Beach Gives last year, dinosaurs have become synonymous with SCIC in a peculiar way, and you can find out why tomorrow. But the dinosaurs are back, and they hit the streets of Long Beach. So come and join us and find out what that means tomorrow at noon. And tomorrow night we have a continuation of a monthly program that we do, the Religion 101 series. And this one will focus on the Congregational Church, the UCC. We conclude on Friday in the morning meditation from the Buddhist faith community, and then rewind and recap from 12 to 12:30. And again, all these programs are just to give you a little glimpse of who we are as an interfaith council. Sarah, that's a beautiful view that you have right there. I think, is that Sarah? I think that's her camera. But in any case, or Nancy, whoever. In any case, but the goal of this is we hope that Sarah put in the chat the link to donate, and we hope that you're able to, in whatever capacity. No amount is too small, no amount is too great. All the programs that we do, over 95% of them are free to the community. And the whole premise is an idea is bringing people together, bringing people and connecting hearts and just recognizing the humanity that unites us all. We are almost 100% operated on individual donors. So we would love your support in whatever capacity that you're able to give. Yeah, other than that, I mean, just from the depths of my heart, thank you so much for this beautiful evening, all the poets, all the words, the imagery, and Tony for spearheading it and leading this. And Tony, I leave it to you for any last parting words for tonight.
Well, thank you. Tell us how to find the recordings on YouTube.
Oh, yes. Excellent. Okay. So I'll ask, either Sarah or Cheryl to share that on the chat, but we have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe. All of our programs, particularly these last 2 years when, like everyone else, we had to make that paradigm shift. How do we go from, because we are program based and, we are what I call relationship based. This is, we have programs where we connect with people and we go to different faith communities and houses and conferences and all of that was suddenly, stopped. And so, but I'm so happy to say that, with the leadership of the board, with individuals like Tony, who serves on my board, we really made a paradigm shift and switched, of course, to Zoom. And so you'll see a litany of those on our website, on our YouTube channel, and all of these will be available there as well. So please do go there and see what you've missed.
What's the name of the channel?
I believe it's just the South Coast Interfaith Council. So if you go to YouTube and just put scinterfaith.org.
I just put it in the link in the chat.
Perfect. Yeah. Sandra says, I'm so glad you switched to Zoom. I wouldn't be able to be here. Yeah, that's one of the things, we miss that connection, but at the same time, we realize that, my goodness, tomorrow we have, oh my God, I'm so excited. We have this individual from Norway who's going to be chanting a Baha'i prayer, and how would that, my budget would certainly not allow me to get someone from Norway. I can attest to that with confidence. But this allows me that, so I'm grateful for that. But yes, so please, Tony, any parting words tonight as we say?
No, you're all wonderful. You're just awesome, every one of you. So just know that, and we can go out on that one.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you all so much, and have a good night, and please join us again tomorrow for
thank
and
you.
during the day.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Hi, thank you.
Bye. Manik, nice to see you. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you. Ayah, you were wonderful.